The streets of Washington, D.C. pulsed with noise, the kind that rattles your bones before it reaches your ears. Protesters filled the air with chants, banners raised high under the humid spring sky. The smell of sweat, asphalt, and determination blended into something fierce, something alive. Detective Mark Callahan stood at the front line of the police cordon, his jaw locked tight beneath his riot helmet. The orders were clear: hold the line. No one crosses the steps of the courthouse. He'd been on the force 15 years, but lately, it felt like 15 lifetimes. The tension between the badge and the people it was supposed to protect had never been heavier. One wrong move, one wrong word, and the whole city could burn. Across from him, a woman in a deep navy suit stepped into the chaos. She wasn't yelling like the others. She wasn't even holding a sign. She walked with a calm that cut through the madness, her heels clicking against the cracked pavement. Her name was Dr. Angela Brooks. Most people didn't know her face, not yet, but they knew her work. She was the newly appointed head of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, though her official public debut was scheduled for next week. But Angela didn't wait for permission to show up when people were hurting. She'd built her career by walking into storms, not around them. Cameras swung her way. She was elegant, poised, unafraid. News anchors whispered into microphones. Greater than, who is this woman walking toward the police line? Mark didn't know who she was. All he saw was another protester breaking the boundary. Ma'am, back up, he barked through the megaphone. She didn't. He lowered it, stepped forward, his hand raised. I said back. That's when it happened. The push, the shout, the chaos, and then, the slap. It wasn't premeditated, it wasn't heroic, it was human and wrong. A reflex born from tension, from fear, from everything the uniform carried that day. The sound cracked louder than the chants. Cameras froze. The crowd gasped. Someone screamed, "He hit her! He hit her!" Angela didn't stumble. She didn't cry. She stood still, her hand slowly rising to her cheek, where a faint red mark was blooming. Around her, silence began to spread like a wave. The captain's voice screamed through Mark's earpiece, "Stand down. Do you know who that is?" Mark blinked. She's a protester, sir, she crossed the line. That's the new head of the Justice Department. The words hit harder than any slap could. Mark's hand dropped to his side. His throat went dry. He looked at her again, this time, really looked. The calm, the eyes that didn't burn with anger but with something deeper, disappointment. Angela turned to the cameras, her voice steady. Greater than, this, she said, is why reform isn't optional. The crowd erupted. Mark wanted to sink into the asphalt. Part 2, the silence after the storm. Hours later, the video was everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, CNN, BBC. Hashtag spread like wildfire. Hashtag justice for Angela. Hashtag the slap seen round the world. By nightfall, Mark's badge was suspended, his face plastered across every screen in America. Commentators debated his intent. Politicians condemned him, but Angela, the woman he struck, said nothing. She didn't sue. She didn't demand his firing. Instead, she requested a meeting. When the call came, Mark thought it was a joke. Greater than, she wants to meet me. Greater than, yes, his captain replied grimly. At the department headquarters. Tomorrow morning. He barely slept. Every replay of the video made his stomach twist tighter. By dawn, he looked like a ghost in a uniform. At 9 a.m., he walked into the Justice Building. It smelled of coffee, marble, and authority. A receptionist escorted him through glass doors, into a small conference room. And there she was, Angela Brooks, in a charcoal gray suit, reading a stack of reports. She didn't look up when he entered. "Detective Callahan," she said calmly. "Have a seat." He obeyed. For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of the air conditioning. Then she looked up, eyes sharp but kind. "Why did you hit me?" Mark's voice cracked. "Ma'am, I didn't mean to. It was chaos, people were shouting, someone shoved. I didn't ask for excuses." Her tone softened. "I asked why." He stared at his hands. "Because I was scared." Angela studied him. Of what? He hesitated. Of being the next cop on the news. Of losing control. Of not knowing what's right anymore. She nodded slowly, like she'd heard those words before, too many times. "Fear," she said, "is the seed of injustice. But it can also be the root of change, if you face it." He looked up. "Why'd you call me here, ma'am?" "To fire me." A faint smile crossed her lips. "To give you a chance to learn." Mark frowned. Learn what? How to listen, she said. How to serve, not control. I want you to work with me. He blinked. Work with you? Yes. I'm starting a national training initiative for officers. Real reform, from inside the system. I need people who've seen both sides of the line. People who've made mistakes but are brave enough to own them. Mark sat in stunned silence. You could have destroyed me, she continued. But I don't want revenge. I want change. He swallowed hard. Why would you trust me? Angela leaned forward, her voice steady. Because forgiveness isn't weakness, detective. It's leadership. Part 3, Redemption on Camera. Weeks later, America watched again, the same two faces, the same cameras. But this time, no riot. No slap. Mark stood beside Angela on the courthouse steps as she announced the new Justice Training and Accountability Initiative. She spoke of empathy, reform, and unity. He spoke of mistakes, responsibility, and growth. And when reporters asked why she hadn't pressed charges, she said simply,